This is Svidler, and I'm trying to figure out how to stream this from home because I would like to do these things on a reasonably regular basis, maybe once per week if we get some kind of a setup going. And this is my first experience streaming anything at all from my notebook, so if there are any glitches, I apologize in advance. I have no idea what I'm doing, honestly. Macaulay tried to train me, but it's like training a monkey. It's basically, there's absolutely no guarantee anything will happen the way it's supposed to happen. But it seems like, hopefully, let me have a look. Yeah, that would be a good idea. Hopefully this is streaming, and we can proceed to the business of actually playing Bliz. I have the chat window open on the other machine, so I will be glancing at that every now and then. So if you have a question to ask, and I've managed to notice it, I will try and answer it. And also, I had a suggestion. We discussed it with Macaulay a little bit. I don't really like 5-0. I think those are too long. So you are on stream with this command. Yeah, there will be a board appearing in this space in a moment, but I just wanted to suggest one thing before we begin. 5-0 I think is too long. This has been a long day, but I still plan to try and do something close to 90 minutes before I completely drop dead. But I think a good rule of the thumb, if we can somehow make this work, would be for people, let's say, rated 20, let's say 350 and above. It's a completely arbitrary number, but why not? For those people, if they could challenge me with some kind of a 4-minute challenge, it would probably be a bit better for the quality of the games. And for everybody else, 3 minutes, I think, is the general accepted norm. And I think with this, we should start playing. Let's have a look at what we have here. And I was also told that people at the bottom of the list have been waiting the longest, so I'll proceed under that assumption. Good luck, everybody. And as usual, I'm white for some reason. Whoa, Alekin. It's been a very, very long time since I've looked at this in any kind of serious fashion. In particular, G6. I used to know something about this line, but all the theory I really remember is dated 1985 or thereabouts. I think A4 leads to some kind of a possible forced draw. There was this fancy line starting with 95, but will be very, very hard to remember. It also leads to a slightly equalish endgame, but this is what I looked at when I was a young kid. Very, very long time ago, obviously. Yeah, the main line is D5, and if we are both heading towards the same position, it's not a particularly exciting position, I'm sorry to say. I probably should have played something else. I honestly can't remember Queen B5 at all. I think you're supposed to go Queen A5. I'm not sure why you're giving me an extra tempo here. But probably it's not a huge big deal. I think theory goes Queen A5 and then probably something close to what I will be doing anyway. I'm not sure if people can actually snipe the stream and play and also watch what I'm saying, so I'm kind of yeah, that's really not a consideration. And probably now that black played Queen B5, Queen C6 is a half decent idea. Queen A5 now makes much less sense than it did a move ago. So maybe Queen C6. Okay. With the knight on B1, I'm supposed to play bishop f6 there. Black castles, I take on G7, play Queen f6 check, and Queen takes E5, and I get a slightly better endgame. But with an extra tempo, I'm really, really tempted to go for something more adventurous. I kind of vaguely remember that this also existed as a possibility in the position with the knight on b1, and if it does, it should be even better with the knight on a3, obviously. So I'll try that and we'll see where it leads. I'm trying to use my obvious advantage in development to open the position up as much as possible and to make black's life as uncomfortable as possible. I think the critical move in this position has to be 5e4. Yeah, this seems to be going well, but I should still get a lot of compensation more or less regardless of what I do here, I think. Can I take with the queen? Because knight takes e4, e5. I definitely, I mean, because of the king on f8, I should always get something. Yeah, but this is slightly worrying because I probably miscalculated somewhere. I thought I could take on e6 here, but now it's after bishop e6, queen g5. I might be in a spot of bother, and I might actually be in a spot of bother anyway here. Yeah, I should have taken with the knight. I had a feeling this was wrong. Hang on a second. How wrong is it though? Oh, this definitely is a mistake, yeah, because of this. First game is not going particularly well, but that's to be expected. Should have done something less fancy. Now I'm, well, quite clearly much worse because I'm a full piece down, but there should be some play because the pawn on f7 is still alive. As long as the pawn on f7 is alive, I have some compensation. Also, my time situation is very decent, or it used to be very decent before, I thought, for a very long time at one point. Yeah, this position now is actually, well, now it's very good for me. I'm kind of this game deteriorated quite a bit, is what I'm trying to say. It was interesting up to a point, and then we both started playing quite badly, I think. Yeah, now I should be more or less completely winning. I'm not even returning the exchange. So yeah, this was far from a flawless game, but yeah, important not to blunder checks. Yeah, my apologies to X-Player, who probably knew more about this opening than I did, but I managed to swindle my way out of it at some point. Okay, let's see. What else is there? I got a challenge from somebody who is rated 27-23. I think I'll leave that, my apologies to Chess Dude. I need to warm up a little bit before I attempt playing people who are definitely better at this than I am. 25-55 is probably also a problem, but let's go from the bottom of the list up. I tried many things in this position in my life. I'm not sure what to go for at this particular moment. That's probably the most solid option. This line is supposed to equalize for black, although you probably should know a little bit more about it than I actually do. I think you're supposed to go bishop e6 here, and then maybe take. I have a feeling this is how theory goes in this line. Once again, yeah, I should probably try and play something less, quote unquote correct, because we seem to be ending up in positions which are not really a bundle of laughs. And if I don't take on c3 here, will be worse. So my apologies for going for slightly dry positions. Although the previous game cannot really be called dry. It could have been dry, but it didn't, because I went badly wrong at some point. This type of endgames is generally considered to be slightly better for white, but not by a lot. Also, glancing at the other screen, I realized I should have done something, possibly should have done something about the delay. My apologies for this not being as live as we all planned to, but as I said, I'm a complete noob with the whole streaming from home, and I will be making mistakes with regards to doing it properly. As for the position on the board, this has to be fine for black now. If white wants to be better in this structure, he needed to try and make me less comfortable early on with rooks on, and now that all the rooks are gone and actually my king is more centralized than his, maybe even slightly better, although I don't expect it to be anything serious. Maybe I should try doing this as a kind of an attempt to confuse matters a little bit. But it's not particularly confusing. The best way to react to this, I think, would be to take on a2 and play a5, because he needs to secure my pawns on the light squares and in the arising bishop endgame. Now at least I have the pawn on a4 to play against, which gives me some hope. Yeah, now I was about to say it's still not very much, but actually now that I've collected on a4, I should be doing very, very well. Generally speaking, knight endgames, just as pawn endgames, are quite comfortably winning when you're a pawn up. I mean, there's obviously still every probability that I will somehow misplay it, and I seem to have done that already to a degree, but it should still be winning somehow, I think. Although I don't particularly like my previous sequence of moves. I think I must have made a mistake somewhere. I should not have given white any play in the center at all. That was completely unnecessary. But the b-pawn should be very, very fast, generally speaking. I don't think he has time to take on g7. That should generally be a queen, I think. Yeah, this works. My second promoted pawn in 2 games, which is, I think, a bit of an achievement. Okay, I seem, yeah, an FM killer badge. Seems to be going my way towards the end of the games, and I seem to be doing okay on the clock, which wasn't the case in the first Banter Bliz session, which is slightly surprising because I should be, or with all the talking, I should be slower than the people I'm playing against. Okay, let's play somebody slightly lower rated. I feel like I'm only scraping by the skin of my teeth there. Ah, an opportunity to maybe play the Grunfeld. This is always welcome. I very much welcome any new input. Trying to do this and also scroll through the chat, this is difficult, especially left-handed. Curious. This is not a line I feel particularly comfortable against, because I can sort of remember what my videos suggest here, because I had a very nice message from somebody who watched the videos and who felt that probably bishop g4 was even stronger. I don't know why I went knight a5. Yeah, I should have gone bishop g4. Whoa. That seems like an opportunity for me to mispronounce the word incongruous, which I will take. Because generally in this line white tries to give mate, and now he switches to an endgame, which nonetheless makes perfect sense here, because in this endgame I have serious trouble dealing with the threat of rook c7. So it might actually be more reasonable for me to try and avoid the endgame here, at least for now. But that also is far from comfortable. Okay, let's try something risky. Now, yeah, the logical course of action for white, of course, is to switch back to all those mating plans. But giving mate in chess, as we all know, is not that easy, so I want to challenge my opponent to actually come good on his promise and try and give me mate here. I'm not quite sure I like this d5 move, because it opens up the g7 bishop, and also bishop a6 was something he should have paid attention to, because now at least I have something to play for. His position is still fine, but I think he probably was better before, and I'm not sure if he is now. I definitely have some counterplay now. I can play against this weakness on g2 and force him to maybe make some concessions, because it's not that easy to protect this pawn comfortably and also keep control of the c-file. If he goes rook g1, I will take on c1, and he will be forced to take with the bishop, more or less. Or he has to do this, and this also concedes the c-file to me. And this is clearly wrong. Rook g1 looks ugly, but king f1 is, yeah, for many reasons. This rook c3, actually queen b5 is slightly tricky. I also have the option of going, yeah, that's what I should do. Because I thought he might play rook h3 here, but I have a trick. I have a trick which is actually mate in 3, which is fairly nice. So, doing okay so far. Nearing that magic 2600 mark. Pretty sure I'm going to crash and burn now I've said that, but let's try and keep the streak going. Okay, I played e4 in the previous game, right? Let's continue switching stuff up. Also, my notebook is emitting strange whirring sounds. I really hope it's not about to blow up on me, because I just got it back from repairs. And if it dies on me again 10 hours before our vacation, this will not be welcome news. Tomorrow we're all off to Sicily to do nothing for 2 weeks. The internet there is somewhat unreliable, but if it's better than it was last year, I will try and fit in at least one of these in the 2 weeks that I will be there. Hopefully it will work somehow. Black were doing fine up until the moment he put his knight on c6 coming back to the game, because it really has no business being on c6 in this line. I think it should be on d7. And there was really no call to start developing this knight this early anyway. I think he could have played, I mean, the theoretical move with h6 there. He still gets a version of the Lasker, but I think, generally speaking, because to equalize in the Lasker, Black generally needs to go for either c5 or an e5 break, and with the knight on c6, both of those plans are, well, quite obviously very hard to put into practice. So it will be hard for Black to improve his position in any kind of meaningful manner here. And now that he's switched to a stonewall setup, this is not, I think, a particularly good stonewall. Although I'm not, a huge specialist on the stonewall in general, so maybe it's still playable, but yeah, I would think that my position here has to be very good. Could also take with the rook, but yeah, probably should have taken with the rook. Now that I think about it, yeah, that really isn't how you go about things. Now I'm basically spoiled for choice. Bishop takes b5 wins material on the spot, but maybe, yeah, it just wins material on the spot, so why not do that? Topalov did win, yes. I'm not sure if replying to chat makes any sense at all because of the delay, but no, hang on, Topalov did. No, I don't know how Topalov's game ended. I'm jumping the gun there. This position is now completely winning because the queen really has no squares, and the discover check will collect a lot of material here. So with this game effectively over, I guess the rook takes a3. Hang on a second. If he finds rook takes a3, it's well, not a new game. I'm still a pawn up, but it's well played. Well played, sir. Actually, I should start with f3 to always be ready to meet f4 with e4. It's important not to give him any breaks, and also to restrict the bishop on b7 as much as possible. This should still be objectively winning, but it was a nice tactical shot, and I'm glad that my opponent found it. I mean, the big event going on in the chess world right now is obviously the Norway chess tournament in Stavanger, and I've been following every game live, obviously, as much as I could, because the last few days were incredibly busy, and I was away from home for larger stretches of time. But as much as I could follow it live, I did follow it live. It's a very exciting tournament to follow, and the big story, of course, is Magnus on -3 after 4 rounds. But I mean, I think we all understand that his current results stem from what happened in round 1, which would be incredibly traumatic for anybody, apparently including Magnus. I mean, I always thought that his nervous system is among the most resilient in the chess world, maybe the most resilient in the chess world. But even for him, losing a game like that must have been an incredibly difficult blow to handle. And it seems to be difficult for him to recover completely. Okay, let's see. I confess I asked the admins if they knew who that was, because honestly I think never seen anybody with a rating above 2700 here, especially not at the opposite side of the board. And I got no information, no meaningful information in reply. So I'm going in more or less blind. This is an old line which I spent a lot of time in my life studying and still have no set conclusions on. I mean, it should be okay, but white always gets a little bit of something here. There are all kinds of interesting and very sharp variations where black gives up a lot of material here. For instance, instead of castles, it's possible just to go c7, c5, sacrificing a pawn straight away. And Emil Sotovsky did this against me with black actually, and it's a very interesting line. But I wanted to do something else for today. And this particular setup, I think I played with black more than once, and it's not particularly exciting, but I think it should generally come very close to equalizing in most cases. It gives me no real hints as to who my opponent is, though. This move I don't know, and I'm not entirely sure I like it. But it's a possible move because the c4 square, which knight d2 covers effectively, can be used by black to play both knight c4 and bishop c4 in some positions, trying to simplify, exchange some pieces, and generally make his life slightly more tolerable. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure about my a couple of my previous choices. I'm not entirely certain I should have taken on c3 so early. Kind of dislike my position now because I have no comfortable way of dealing with this bishop on e6, which it kind of hinders my own potential pawn breaks in the center. I would like to go for the e5 break, but with the bishop on e6 it's almost impossible. So I will have to try and do something else. The plan, obviously, if I'm given time to make all those moves, is to play well, a5, knight b6, and with the knight on b6 covering at least some of those squares on the queen side, I should have some prospects of, achieving some kind of a normal setup. The queen would ideally go to d7, the bishop might. I mean, with this setup on the queen side, I can actually keep it on e6 for a while. It doesn't really matter that much anymore. And very importantly, the moment the knight leaves his post on d2, I can play bishop c4 or knight c4, but I would prefer to play bishop c4 because it's an absolutely ideal square for the bishop. So we're in a bit of a holding pattern here because Yeah, I think I should try and start those simplifications. This, I think, should be fine. Not sure about that last move, though. Yeah, bishop d6 may have been even stronger. But I'm doing fine now. I'm probably not better, but I'm definitely not worse. This should be a reasonably comfortable position for black. And I can maybe try and go for some kind of a break on the queen side under favorable circumstances. I don't know if these circumstances are favorable though. So I will try and fight for the c-file. Success so far. This actually is this now is a very nice position because I win the a3 pawn. Yeah, f4 is way too fancy, but I mean I'm still winning, but I should have done something more practical there. Hang on, I should play b4. Yeah, that doesn't work. Grunfeld strikes again. 4 points away from 2600. And I honestly thought I will get completely slaughtered today because as I said, this has been a ridiculously long day on my side, and it's, I mean, it will sound slightly stupid because it's 10:30, but by our standards here in this flat, this is very late, and people are generally going to sleep at about this time. So I did not expect to have as many points as I have after 5 games. Not that anybody's counting apart from me, obviously. e4, d4, now time for the c-pawn. And I'm immediately stumped as to what I'm supposed to play after knight f6. Okay. Not a huge King's Indian player with any color these days, but we'll try and let's play homage to. Yeah, I probably shouldn't even mention that because he will be very, very upset. I was about to say let's pay homage to Mr. Tomaszewski, who wins just about every single game in this line, but he actually knows what he's doing here, as opposed to me. So I think dedicating this effort to him would be very, very insulting to all the work he's done to promote this line. Yeah, I don't really know. You're probably supposed to go bishop b2 instead of this. But I'm a Rui Lopez player. If there's a knight on h2, I feel it belongs on g4, even if it quite clearly doesn't. Yeah, well, playing knight g4 and only then playing bishop b2 makes no sense whatsoever. I apologize for that travesty. That was not good at all. That made no sense whatsoever. And apparently I'm playing Robin van Kampen's repertoire. If I am, I'm blissfully unaware of it. I'm not sure queen e8 is such a hot move though. Am I blundering something here? It's kind of important not to blunder anything here, but I don't see what it is. Yeah, but it's one check. I should be able to handle one check. If I'm not missing something very, very dramatic, I should end up just being pawn up with no particular compensation that I can see. Yeah, that's the best the best choice. Leaving this knight alive to return to f5 would be completely disastrous for black. This is not that bad actually, but pretty bad nonetheless. By doing this, I either force him to play f4, and now I can sort of forget about the king side because it will never be opened apart from maybe on my terms later in the game. Or he had to take either on e4 or on g4, opening up the f file for my rooks. And now we enter. I was about to say we enter the technical phase, but maybe not. I'm not actually sure he needed to try and open the queen side, because with the king side so secure, opening up the queen side actually just gives me entry points for my pieces. If black just waited, it would take me a very, very long time to open anything up on the queen side at all. And this way I just sort of barge in. Wee, 2600. Okay, let's scroll up a bit. Four minutes. So people actually have figured out how to make a 4-minute challenge. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't know how, but I'm glad I'm playing against computer literate people. And now that I've been accused of playing Robin's repertoire, let's actually play some of the things. I haven't actually seen his videos on the Taimanov yet, but I have done some extensive work on this myself, so I should be able to make at least some moves here. There are two main ways to proceed from here for white, and h3 is not one of the two. People either play f3 or f4 in this position, I think. h3 is unknown to me, and it doesn't seem to me to be one of the more critical tries, because now white has to pay attention to the b4 threat, because the e4 pawn potentially gets attacked. And I can remind my opponent of that again by playing bishop b7, and yeah, this should somehow get punished actually. I should probably look for clear-cut advantage here. As you can see, generally speaking in this line, playing a3 and allowing black to play b4 and open up the files on the queen side is not something white should be striving for actively, because it gives black a tremendous amount of counterplay. And I wouldn't even call it counterplay, because white is still a long way away from achieving anything in the center or the king side. And my next move against most moves will be queen a5, threatening mate in 1, which is a reasonably large threat. So yeah, I think I'm doing very well here. And after c3 I can play, well, there are many ways of proceeding. I can maybe even still play queen a5, because if he takes on b4 I can play rook c8 check, and that seems to be mate. Well, not mate, but you know, close enough to make no difference. Knight c2 is probably the only move, but yeah, I have a feeling, and actually this is a 4-minute game, so I can take stock. I can actually try and find some kind of forced solution here, because very, very convinced I should be, well, probably winning by force here, if I am precise. But the solution doesn't seem to be... Ah, yeah, hang on. This probably should be good. I can give this check, play rook b8. Now the threat obviously is knight c3 check. And I must... Yeah, bishop d4 is what I actually calculated. I was about to say that I actually blundered the move c3, c4. But against this, I want to try something fanciful. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But that was my original intention. We've sacrificed the whole rook, but we've opened up the b file, and rook b8 check is looming very, very large here. This does not actually help. And I'm not sure there was any help available, frankly, for white in this position. $26.01. Wasn't that $26.04 just a minute ago and I won again? That seems unfair. This game doesn't seem to be starting as fast as we would like, so let's give it another 5 seconds and we'll switch to another attempt. Adam probably waited for too long and gave up on this idea. I'm sorry if this is actually the case. This was not my intention, but the list is reasonably long and I can only fit in as many games as time allows. Yeah, this doesn't seem to be starting, so let's do something else. Well, lots of really high-rated people seem to be in line to play me. And since I'm on a bit of a streak, I will probably be dodging those. Chicken that I am. Let's continue. Well, I was about to say let's continue with the Paulson theme, but yeah, I think that the manly thing to do is to accept the Mora Gambit. But it's generally beneficial to know what you're doing here if you're black, because this is not an easy opening to face. And my knowledge is very, very limited in these matters. I have some idea, but I'm fairly sure d6 is already slightly subpar. Yeah, I have a feeling this is not really what you're supposed to do here with black. I didn't like queen c7 bishop before because the threat of e5 makes me very, very nervous, but this doesn't actually solve this problem. I don't know why I thought it would. Yeah, let's try and do this. I am only maybe a move and a half away from castling, and then my problems will be, well, smaller. I'm not saying my position will be problem-free, but they will be in, you know, they will assume manageable proportions, but I still need to be precise here. I'm not sure about bishop c5 though. might be a bit too optimistic. Yeah, that was a very large misplay. This position has to be very bad now for me. I'm not resigning just yet, but this is now a very, very unpleasant position, to say the least. Yeah, I don't know what possessed me to play bishop c5. Now I need to remember all those years of my youth when I got a bad position in pretty much every single game, and in those days I would survive somehow, living on my wits. But yeah, this is not a good position. Yeah, queen g3 is just murder here. Yeah, there goes my proud streak, I guess. Allowing queen takes g7 will end the game there and then, so I need to do something else. Yeah, this is incredibly bad. Really, really bad. The urge to resign will be very, very strong now. But we will fight it for now. I don't know why, actually. Wouldn't be a bad idea just to resign in this position, to be honest, because I don't see how it can be improved. The biggest problem about this is that it's just very, very hard to see how this position will ever become better than it is right now for me. Yeah. Yeah, I think just resigning here is prudent. Bishop c5 was not a good move. But that was bound to happen at some point. Pity though, because for instance, I've given a reasonably large number of simuls in my life, and only one of them with 100% score. So, although I knew going in that this wasn't a particularly likely outcome, I had this dream of maybe going through this undefeated. That dream is dead. Sad panda is very, very sad. And also knight b3 here is not the right way to proceed, I guess, yeah? Yeah. I think you're supposed to castle instead. I think this is a game between Nakamura and Lubojevic from one of those NH tournaments all those years ago, which I think Lubo did not win with black, despite the fact that he was completely winning after 10 moves, as my opponent is right now. I don't know, yeah, I mean, going knight b3 there was a bit of a knee-jerk reaction. You do that a move later, but not at this particular junction. Yeah, this position objectively has to be between much better and winning for black. But because of the opposite bishop ending, well, not ending, because of the opposite color bishops and the fact that the black queen, the black king is still in the center, there is some counterplay available to white. And I remember Hikaru created threats with every move and kept on asking questions of Lubo, and I should have taken on d6 there. And I'm given an opportunity to do it again. Should I? Yeah, I think it's, I mean, it's the best move in the position, I should make it. But it was slightly stronger the previous move. Now I'm not lost anymore. I'm definitely still not better, but I'm not lost anymore. And for all of you kids watching, do not play knight b3 after queen a5. This is... Yeah, I think Naka eventually won in time trouble. Yeah, I looked up at the chat. Yeah, I think the game eventually reached horrible mutual time trouble, as Lubo's games generally do. And in that time trouble, he missed a number of forced wins and even eventually lost the game. But that still does not mean you should be playing knight b3 in that position. That is a very, very large mistake. My position is fine now. Playing it for a win would be difficult. I mean, objectively speaking, black is, well, not after d5. After d5, black is not better. I can play knight d4 with immediate equality, but that would be kind of sad. Let's pretend we're creating a weakness on the king side, even though it's not a weakness. This is a very, very level position. I think objectively nobody should be in any kind of trouble here. Can I make this move? I'm trying to play bishop f6. That still won't... Yeah, but mainly I was trying to bait black into exchanging the knight for the bishop, because... Not that I'm better here, but this at least becomes slightly more double-edged, because I have a very, very nice knight on... will have in a moment. A very nice knight on d4. But I will still have those weaknesses on the queen side, which black can try and play against. But I have the h-file, and this endgame becomes quite sharp. And actually, now I think I should be doing quite well. And also I'm winning on time, but that's less important objectively, I think. I mean, I'm doing very well even on the board. Even without the clock, I would be doing quite well in this position. But yeah, the opening could have gone slightly smoother in that particular game. I will try and get through most of the list, and Mr. JV Ferreira, I promise I'll play you next. No, I haven't won everything. I lost against the Mora Gambit in the previous game. And they tell me it was against a centaur. We don't know that for sure. It was a very, very evenly played game by white. But accusations like that are dangerous when unconfirmed. Another opening from my misbegotten youth. Has two names, one of them is Lange, but the second one I can never remember. And also there is some theory connected with this, which I can't really recall at all. I think the most critical move here must be bishop g5. Because if he allows me to castle queenside, my position will be very, very comfortable. What I'm supposed to do against bishop g5, though, I honestly can't remember at all. Not a clue. This probably runs into bishop f6, but I think I can reply to bishop f6 by playing something like queen somewhere. Yeah, my original plan was to go queen d5, but now I see that it doesn't really solve any of my problems. This might be a slightly larger problem than I originally anticipated. I think I should still do that though. I'm not worried about him taking on d4 twice. Yeah, the bigger worry is what will I do if he just passes. But I think I have some useful moves in reserve still. Rook g8 is mainly. Yeah, I was told. Yeah, people in chat know theory. I just don't. So. This should be fine, shouldn't it? If he has to take on d4, I should be generally doing quite okay. I'm not better, but once again, definitely not worse. Yeah, bishop c5 is the correct move because leaving me with the bishop pair would be strategically somewhat risky. And even here, I can maybe pretend for a little bit. Because after bishop f5, he more or less has to take on f8, and now he is a tempo short of being in time to play rook d1 and to swap everything down. So I think I actually have some slight pull here. Not a lot, but a little bit. If he goes f3, which seems to be the most natural move here, I'll play rook f8. And the fact that the pawn on c2 is still hanging if the knight leaves, yeah, and this doesn't really help white at all. And suddenly I'm a healthy pawn up. Let's see how my conversion technique is these days. But I guess that in this particular situation, my conversion technique is just making moves without blundering pieces because I'm also up a minute. But I mean, objectively speaking, this position should be winning. Not only is black a healthy pawn up, I also have a bishop against a knight in a position with pawns on two flanks, which generally very much favors the side with the bishop. And now I'm picking up additional pawns. So yeah, this now is completely hopeless. I feel I don't really play rook endings well at all. In reply to somebody asking me in chat, yeah, I promised to play J Ferreira next. And I see that Lawrence is itching to play his client yet again. Maybe we'll do that next. What haven't I played yet? Lawrence. Yeah, the problem with G6, as I well know myself, is that you run into this. Yeah, black can do that, but you need to sort of know and like how to play the Maratse. I personally don't, so it wouldn't be particularly comfortable for me to be playing this position with black. I think I tried it once in a match against David Navarra, and I suffered horribly, and I made a solemn vow to myself never to do this again. But some people do this with great success. Rauf Mamedov comes to mind, for instance, who has, I mean, he's been playing this type of positions all his life, and he has very good results, and seems to have no trouble whatsoever equalizing in every single game. Uh, the plan is to do this for another 30 minutes or so, to do the question as to how long this will go on. But if I start feeling I'm becoming completely brain dead, I'll just stop, because I think doing it longer just for the sake of doing it longer, and with a very significant drop in quality, would be doing a bit of a disservice to those watching. And back to the game. I mean, I'm trying to get something going on the king side. The plan is to go. Yeah, I should have gone b4. I don't know why I didn't play before. Restricting this knight and not allowing knight c5 seems like something I should have paid attention to. And that's a bit of a weird maneuver, to be honest. I don't really see what that achieves for black. But if you really want, I can play before. And actually now I can maybe even win this bishop, no? Can't I? Doesn't this win material? That's slightly greedy, but I mean, a piece is a piece. Not winning a piece because you don't want to appear greedy is generally not a very good idea. Now I can switch back to giving mate, actually. Hasn't been a stellar game on both of our sides. Yeah, and people seem to be very much in favor of Lawrence trouncing me yet again, so we'll probably have to do that in a moment. Yeah, very important to play h3. It serves as a gentle reminder that I'm a whole piece up now, and black has no actual active plans. There is probably an apocryphal story about one of the masters of the Golden Age, whose opponent, and you have to understand that in those years there were maybe even no clocks. It's a very old story. And black had a completely winning position, had one pawn which was very close to the queening square. And the opponent of this particular old master, he just kept on playing, waiting for the master to give him mate. And no amount of subtle hints would persuade him to resign. And then at some point, let's say black had like a passed pawn on the h file, which was already on h3. And at this point, the master just played a7, a5. And his opponent looked up because the move made no sense. He was completely winning on the king side, and asked him, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Since you're not resigning, I will queen the a pawn first, and then I will proceed with the other ones," which prompted an immediate resignation. So h3 was played in slightly the same spirit here. And there's a shorter story about Viktor Lvovich Korchnoi. This one probably is just true, not even apocryphal in any way, shape, or form. He was playing somebody in, I think, an open tournament a long time ago, some years back. And in a totally winning position, his opponent was also resolutely playing on. I'm looking for Lawrence, but there's a very long list. Hang on, I'll get to him eventually. So Viktor Lvovich leaned in and said, "Do you speak English?" And when his opponent replied yes, he said, "Why don't you resign?" Which led once again to an immediate resignation. Okay, and we even managed to work the system that Lawrence is now white. Okay. I seem to be playing a lot of Paulsen today. Yeah. All those newfangled things people seem to be playing these days. Not even sure what I'm supposed to do here, to be honest. Probably not this, but not quite sure why. So I'll go with this as a working hypothesis. As I said, people seem to know their theory these days. That is, everybody but me. Not entirely sure about this move, but never a mistake to finish development. Come on, Lawrence. Why are you... That's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to try and give me mate. Switching to an endgame is not... It's like breaking an unspoken contract between us. It's a good move though, but I mean, kind of slightly unfair. I'm actually quite a bit worse here, but not to the extent that I would be, you know, desperate about my position. It's not a pleasant position though, by any stretch. And this is probably way too optimistic, but I'm an optimistic kind of guy. Yeah. As I said, this is not a particularly pleasant position, but it's not unplayable. And I have my trumps potentially. Yeah. Not really enjoying this all that much, I have to say. Yeah. Frankly, I don't think I see anything better. And yeah, it's up to Lawrence if he wants to draw here. And if he doesn't, I can definitely relate, because his position is quite nice. And also I'm getting flagged, right? This is one aspect of this which I completely forgot about. Yeah, I might just as well resign here, because I'm never ever making those moves in time. Yeah, thinking for that long was a mistake. That was a 3-minute game, right? Zero two, as expected. It's becoming a tradition. My Banter Blitz is not a proper Banter Blitz without losing to Lawrence in some shape or form. Their final position probably wasn't as bad as some of the previous ones, but that doesn't really matter if you have no time. This one doesn't seem to be starting though. Yeah. I don't know why I did this to myself. It's gonna be bugging me now. And yeah, I really don't know why I did this to myself. This was not very well thought through. I should have just not done that somehow. Preferably by not losing the game, but the most obvious solution was just not to play the monster. Okay. What are the cool kids doing against the Nidork these days? This is a fancy idea, which is probably not winning the game for white, but it's a cute little geometrical idea which I thought would be fun to try out at least once. But probably not connected with bishop g5 though, because that doesn't make much sense. Generally speaking, the knight with pawn on h5, the knight on f3 makes a lot of sense for white, but not if you follow up by playing bishop g5 and bishop takes f6, because now, you know, the knight will never get to g5, and that's the main reason for white to do what he's done would be to somehow establish control over the g5 square at a later point. As for playing the rematch against the monster, yeah, I probably would. I'm not sure if Lawrence's game though. Knight c5 would force me to do. There was a very, very famous game between Kasparov and Shirov many years ago, in which, in a Chelyabinsk kind of structure, Gary just at some point just played rook a4, then rook b4, and then he took on b7 as a reply to knight c5. And after knight take b7, he played b2, b4, cutting this knight completely off from the game, and won a very brilliant positional game with this exchange sacrifice. And I was kind of getting ready to do that, but instead my opponent played knight b6, which is, I mean, also quite playable, but doesn't give me this wonderful opportunity to show off my positional understanding to such an extent. If I'm in time to go rook d3, I'm doing fine. But yeah, there's particularly this move was worrying me quite a bit, because the pawn on b2 is now hanging, and I have no comfortable way of dealing with it, at least for now. Although maybe queen c1 is serviceable. Unfortunately for me, if I take on b8 and go bishop d5, I'm one tempo. Am I? This requires some calculating, which is becoming increasingly hard with every following game, but yeah, this is a hard one. I'm trying to, yeah, I should just be playing faster mainly. I'm just not fast enough these days, yeah. Let's go for a different positional sacrifice. And finally we do play knight g5, but much later than we would originally want. Yeah. I have a feeling these last two games are a pretty clear signal I should be wrapping this up, because I'm becoming way too slow for this to make any sense whatsoever. Also, people flagging me in completely drawn opposite color bishop endings is somewhat sad. Not that I mind that much, but yeah, that's... Let's play one more, and if it goes as slow as the last two, I think this will be a decent time to call it quits whilst slightly ahead. Note to self, if you want to play Lawrence in Banter Blitz, play him at the very start of the session, whilst he's still fresh, and have a fighting chance against the awesome killing machine. Now we've transposed to something. I mean, I even managed to save half a tempo on bishop e7, which might actually be potentially useful to me in some positions, but actually maybe not. Bishop e5 right now was probably very strong. Now we're back to actually official theory. This position, I think, is reasonably well known. And here I'm supposed to do... I'm not entirely sure what. I'm supposed to go for a break in the center, obviously, but I'm not sure if rook d8 is the most precise way to go about that. One thing you generally don't want to do is to play d5 when white still has the option of going e5 in reply. So I'm trying to avoid that, obviously. And also I'm trying to play slightly faster than I was playing before. Yeah, bishop e5 instead of bishop d3. I actually pointed that out live on air. That was very strong, and that's the difference with the bishop on e7. In some positions, black can actually take that bishop, and the way I did it, I would have been in a lot of trouble. But now I think my position is quite tolerable. My next two moves, yeah, I mean, this makes it even easier. I was planning to take on d4 and go bishop, queen c5 anyway, so what my opponent is doing is actually even maybe slightly helping me in a way. This should be a comfortable enough endgame, I think. I'm not sure about this last move though, I think. I mean, it was based on a miscalculation. I was planning to go d5 and if rook d1, d4, but then c3 is a reasonably unpleasant problem, so I will have to switch to just playing d6. I'm bringing the bishop over to e6, which makes my structure slightly more harmonious. Yeah, and this... I don't think he should have been so happy with this endgame, actually. Because I think I'm in time to maybe create an outside passer. Am I? Yeah, and I don't know, it's not very much, but I will try and do something with it, because... Yeah, okay, now it is very much. That was regrettable, but generally speaking, I'm not even sure what I'm trying to say. I mean, the endgame was fine from in the beginning, and I think I misplayed it somewhat. I should have been more careful with the center breaks there. Playing e5 so early was a bit of a mistake. Okay, last two, I think, because I do feel like my mental faculties are abandoning me one after the other, if that's what mental faculties do. Why am I playing this in every single game? Let's do something else for a change. Well, slightly different to what I've been doing. Not drastically different. Should be quite good for black now. If you achieve the d5 break in such favorable conditions in Nepalson, you normally are doing quite well. I'm not that sure about g3, but frankly, it's not that easy to deal with this bishop battery. Yeah, now I should have I mean, objectively, I should have a very, very large advantage now. Almost played knight takes b2. Yeah, saying last two was definitely a good idea. If I actually considered bishop knight takes b2 in this position, I must be nearing the end of my rope. Still doing quite well though. White's problem is that not only was knight takes b2 a large threat, I was also threatening, and actually still am threatening bishop takes g3, which I can play even now, but there's probably slice something stronger. And once again, I can take on a3, but it just feels so greedy. Unfortunately, rook c8, bishop f4 is not as clear cut as I would like, and yeah, and this runs into, yeah, these last couple of moves were probably a misplay. Because if I go knight c6, he has bishop f6 followed by potentially queen h6 later on. Okay, let's try something fancy. I mean, I'm really asking for trouble doing this, but yeah, I was planning to go queen takes c3 in this position. There's a long forced line which might end up being good for me, but I no longer really trust my calculations in variations which go as long as this one does, so I chickened out is what this is called. And also what I did is positionally quite sound, which is if you want to chicken out of a long line with unclear results, doing that by playing positionally sound moves is a good pro tip. Okay, and the last game will be against okay, let's go for final humiliation. Hello, Nicholas. More knight dwarfs. No, that was probably a misclick, which I decided not to punish. Yeah, this is an old line which I haven't looked yet at in quite some time. When I was preparing to bishop b3 knight g4, working for the Hanti candidates, I was planning to do something else, and h3. I think Vasily Ivanchuk has been trying to repopularize playing h3 in this position. It's a playable move. Every single move in this position probably is playable, but I don't think it's anything special. I think the bishop kind of belongs on e3 in these types of positions, so I'm bringing it back before committing to any other ideas. Although this, yeah, this is a bit of an issue. Now I'm back on more or less solid ground because I've managed to stabilize. The pawn on e4 is no longer hanging in any variation, and I can try and maneuver without worrying about rook c3 sacrifices and things of that ilk. Compared to the normal dragon, obviously black has a pawn on g4 and not on g6, which gives me this square on f5 I can try and steer my knights towards. And if he goes e6, this gives me, well, hopefully this gives me other targets, which are not that easy to attack there. I think playing h5 cannot be wrong. Just fixing this weakness on h6 and sort of passing the move to black and asking him if he knows what his next moves are. Not entirely certain how to proceed from here though. I'm not sure what I should be aiming for. Because the plan with the idea of bringing the knight to f5 kind of fell through, but I came up with this idea, but I'm no longer that much in love with it, precisely because of what my opponent is doing. Yeah, although I'm less certain about the move d4, because now the whole thing is on the verge of collapse. Yeah, I thought this was the only move, but this should now objectively be very, very good for me, but I will probably misplay it very badly. Yeah, and I'm really, really unsure about knight g3. I think knight g3 was a mistake. And now I'm forced to try and calculate, which, as I already stated, I can't really do anymore due to the lateness of the hour. I will have to keep silent for a bit, you will excuse me, because this is a difficult line to work out. Yeah. Might end up just being equal, though. I mean, it's a nice touch that I have queen b4 to check there. No, I'm probably slightly better, actually. I shouldn't be losing on time, though. That would be a mistake. Oh, come on. Seriously? Yeah. Very, very tempting to say kids these days, but I won't. And on that sad little note, we will wrap up today's Blitz. I think I haven't done as badly as the results show, but I don't think I can take any more of the slowness of my play. And hopefully I'll be back now that I more or less know how to do this. Hopefully I'll be back in some kind of foreseeable future, especially if the connection in Italy where we're going will be stable enough. Hope you've enjoyed this, and I'm less than satisfied with my own play, but I think there were enough spots in these games which were enjoyable and maybe even slightly educational. And I'll see you next time. This has been Peter Svidler for Chess24. Good luck, everybody.